Hello, my name is David Hocking, and my wife Kimberly and I run Greenlee Art Space, a community organization that has a gallery and hosts shows with local work as well as themed shows. Please visit us on the web or come see our show and learn more about us by watching this video.
The concept behind Greenlee Art Space is that it's a community gallery that's focused around kind of three tenets: creativity, contemplation, and community. So we like to build community among the artists and among people from outside who come to look at the artwork. We would like to do shows that have deeper meanings, where the sort of theme around it or the idea around it is getting people to contemplate or look at their deeper things in life. Creativity. Oh, and creativity. Obviously, the art, it inspires creativity. We find that when we're doing shows, having a theme really helps to spur people along sometimes and to create new work when we have, especially like the show we're having right now, a very large show.
Why we have an art space in Signal Hill? First of all, we live in Signal Hill. So this is part of our community. And we had kind of found that there are not a lot of art spaces in kind of the Long Beach Signal Hill area. So that was kind of a need that we were filling. I don't think there's any other art spaces in Signal Hill.
Not that I know of at this point, but yeah, I think really being centered in the community that we live in, it's something that we really believe in doing. And I think sort of a unique part of where we're at. We're in sort of an alternative space. And I think it really lends itself well also to that sense of contemplation, because it is very quiet up here. We don't necessarily get a lot of walk-in people, but we get people now coming to us as a destination because they know that we're here. So we're really bringing people into Signal Hill, which is wonderful. And I think with space like we have, we really had different ideas about how we wanted to create something. So with a warehouse, it gave us that ability to really create the gallery like we wanted to do. So we could have a gallery space as well as a space for art therapists to meet with clients in the same sort of structure. In a lot of different ways, I think the pandemic affected what we were doing. I found that a lot of people seemed to say that they were having more time to do this or that. And we found that with taking everything online, we had a big grant that we got to work with the Native American artists and to produce a number of talks by these different artists. And so all of that, instead of being in-person events, which are, they take planning and doing and all of that, but when you're trying to produce something online, it's like learning this whole new language. And so we put our art show that we did last year, our big show, online, and so that affected us a lot because we really couldn't raise very much money, so it was hard financially. And then I think just that community aspect of bringing people together for an actual event where they can come together and experience the art in person and talk to one another. I think that part was quite hard, and it took a lot of extra effort to produce things online, but I think there were some definite benefits to doing things online. Do you want to talk about that, Dave, a little bit?
Yeah, so we've figured out how to generate Facebook videos and how to put things on our YouTube videos and put things on our YouTube channel. We've started, I guess, having a little more online presence that way, and been able to, I think, reach a wider audience by doing that. The show we just closed was actually work that was all mailed collaboration work, where artists were collaborating with each other by mailing pieces back and forth with each other and then mailing them into the gallery. So I think that's probably a concept that we wouldn't have maybe been even considering during normal times. The COVID pandemic, with everything kind of shutting down and kind of forcing us to do things a lot more remote, has kind of forced us to kind of rethink the types of things that we can do with the gallery space.
But I think as we went along, one of the things that happened, initially it was a lot harder to feel like we could connect with people and there was that community aspect. But as we got along, went along and got better at working with these kinds of things, especially with the show that we did, the USPS Art Project show that was supporting the Postal Service. When we had our opening, we sold out of the tickets via Zoom. So we had like 100 people that came to that, which was wonderful. And it was people from all across the United States. So it really does open it up a lot. And for this show, we're partnering with a group from India, and they're going to be calling in potentially from India for the opening to participate with us some. So I think it really has opened up our eyes to an ability to reach people farther away. And we've had some great with the Zoom kind of openings. We had a closing where we had storytelling and song from Native Americans, and it was beautiful. And we had lots of people interacting at the end and asking questions and having comments. So it feels like as we went along, we got a lot better at figuring out how to actually make it help build the community as opposed to just being something that we were producing and showing. So yeah, I think it's been hard sort of personally to not be connecting with people at openings and things like that, or getting artists to connect with each other, but we are finding some new ways. And I think there's some definite positives from the pandemic. So Greenlee Art Space 11th anniversary fundraiser show is a really big deal for us. Actually, Dave and I were married 28 years ago on August 7th. So it's our wedding anniversary. And we had our first show here at our gallery on August 7th. And do you want to tell them a little bit about what that first show was? And then.
Yeah, sure. So the first show we opened here at Greenlee Art Space 11 years ago was a project that Kimberly and I worked together on before we got married. We were looking at ways to kind of I guess look at art as ways to pull people out of isolation. And we were, I think, driving in on the freeway one day and kind of thinking about how everyone kind of in their cars has a very isolated feel and very separate sense, almost like they don't really realize that everyone else around them exists. They're kind of in an insulated place, and how to break down that barrier and kind of pull things together. We actually came up with a concept of using at that point film cameras with flash and kind of capturing photos of the people that were driving around us, and kind of
in Volvos.
Yeah, to kind of pull the concept together. We decided to use Volvos as a way to just to kind of pick a brand of car that we would try to capture as many drivers of Volvos as we could, and we did it for a year. Mm-hmm. And so the first show at Greenlee was called Abductions 1993. We did the project in 1993, and we exhibited 365 photos of Volvos and their owners that were all captured back in 1993. So it was kind of fun to do that, and also with kind of transitions in media. We had been doing everything on film cameras with negatives, and now we're in the digital age where I don't think I've shot a film for a long time now. So yeah, that was kind of our first show. We actually met someone who drove into the gallery towards the closing of our opening day with a Volvo, and we kind of got a picture of him inside the gallery.
So that's just to give you a little bit of for us, the date is super significant, and we were planning to have a really big 10-year anniversary, but of course COVID hit then, and we knew that it wasn't really the time for us to do that. And I think the concept for the show is one that a lot of people have really connected to. So we came up with this idea. We had come up with it last year, actually, but it really fits well for this year for our 11th anniversary fundraiser show. The title is Rooted. And so it's really about this idea of what have you been rooted in during this time, whether that's your culture, your artwork, your identity, these different things, really considering that. And so it's been wonderful to get all this we got over 53 artists, I think, and almost 100 works of art that were fitting in. And many of them have really beautiful stories behind them of what how this pandemic has affected people, the places that they've felt rooted, or even if they haven't felt rooted, that kind of connection. So I think a time just to kind of come together and celebrate. Obviously, we're still in the pandemic and we have to take precautions for that, so it won't be the same as usual, but at the same time, we have just a lot of support from the community and from the artists. And I think to celebrate the fact that we did make it through the pandemic and we have continued to produce artwork and shows, continued to show artwork to people. So yeah, so I think this 11-year anniversary show is a big celebration for us because we've come a long way. We have a lot more connections in the community and around the world, which is really wonderful for us to be able to celebrate together and to be here in Signal Hill for that whole time. So we have quite a few different artists in the show, and a number of them we actually connected with through the USPS art project. So that was kind of neat, and I think more people found out about us through that because that project has a lot of people from all across the United States that are connected with it, who have mailed their packages back and forth. So I can highlight a few, and I'll maybe have Dave go and
I'll go grab
some of those. So one of our artists is Rivka, and she's an artist who recently moved to the area from New York. And so this is a beautiful painting that she titled My Gentle One. And what she says about this is, in the swirl of chaos, there is the bright, piercing light of love and connection that we found with each other. This painting was an abstracted portrait of my 7-year-old daughter. We went through a lot during the pandemic as the world raged around us and we moved across the country. But during that time, there was a love that encircled us. That reminded us we exist for each other, and that light and love keep me rooted and focused on moving forward every day. So we're really honored to have her work, and she's a new artist for us. So I think she probably connected with us through the USPS show. Okay, so this is a piece by a local artist, a Long Beach artist named Ellen Butler. And the piece is titled For Jessica. And I don't know if we can you pick it up for a second and pull out the whole thing? She's, Ellen Butler's piece For Jessica is a deeply personal remembrance of a departed friend. So during all the months of this recent lockdown, I made only one piece of art. It is a tribute to a friend of mine who died suddenly. Maybe I can hold part of it. But she has a lot of pictures, and it's just beautiful. I'll continue reading. Completely unexpectedly, of a brain aneurysm at only 34. After a week on life support, her family let her go. 6 other people's lives were then saved because Jessica was an organ donor. Jessica was rooted in her heritage in Guatemala, traveled there often with her mother, who was her closest and best friend, to visit family. She was well rooted to that very special relationship she had with her mother. Melba was always her champion and anchor. I knew Jessica for 18 years, and our excellent friendship went back to when she was a junior in my photography class at Costa Mesa High School. I miss her. So it's a really
box.
Yeah, and it has, I believe it's a song on the back. So that's a piece by Ellen Butler. And then Stephanie Hahn is another very connected artist in Long Beach. She runs a group called Art Clout, and she's done a lot to kind of promote things. And she's done this beautiful piece that has, I think it has like gold leaf on it, and it's of sort of the kelp underneath the ocean. So we can, I'll go ahead and read about this. So for Stephanie Hahn, rooted is anchored in location and preservation. The California coast has been my home for most of my life. It's impossible for me to think of living anywhere else. The ocean has always been the anchor, and kelp forests are a symbol of that to me. I've only recently learned just how valuable they are ecologically, and also how endangered they've become due to climate change factors. I feel a greater connection to them than ever and hope that they can rebound. So that's a beautiful piece, and she's a very connected artist who works a lot with building community as well. So it's been wonderful to have her as part of our shows. Let's do Connie Dk Lane. She's a very well-known and prolific artist who does beautiful work. And so her piece is titled Chinese American. And what she states about this, so it kind of pulls apart, and it has the little connections like you would have in a shirt. And it says, being troubled by the racial violence against Asians during the pandemic, this piece is to express my uprooted belonging as well as a way to amplify Asian voices. So this is Long Beach artist Kessie Diaz, and she basically described her submittal Uprooted. This piece looks at the theme from a different perspective, something we have had to do so much during this very challenging last year. COVID challenged us to look at ourselves, our friends and family, our communities, our country and government from a different perspective. And in doing that, we have re-examined what is important and what truly keeps us rooted. So these are just some of the pieces that we have in the show, just to highlight a few, but there's so many other beautiful ones also with very poignant and amazing stories. So we would love for everybody to come to this 11-year anniversary show to be able to experience these pieces. We do have an online portion at the beginning where we'll be visited from, hopefully from the partnering organization that we're going to be sponsoring in Delhi, India, which is called Art for Change. And they're going to be hopefully buying some land to do like an art retreat center, which I think is really lovely. And part of the funds that we raise from this show will go to help them with their efforts in Delhi, India, to work with artists. I think that the local community really should and must attend this event at Greenlee Art Space, because supporting the arts, I think, is extremely important during a time like this where there is a lot of intense emotion. There's been a lot of upheaval in many different ways. And I think that as artists, we're able to process these things in a manner that we can hopefully speak to many different people on different levels. And so I think that this time obviously has been very isolating for us. And so to come to this will be to support something that I feel is extremely important. Every time I do a show where I get images on the computer and I see what it is, and then when we bring the actual piece in, when the artist brings the piece in, the physicality of the work, the way that, you know, the sculpture moves, the way that the paint is applied to the canvas, how things, the scale of things, the color, all of that is very different from seeing it online. And obviously for people who can only do that, that's fine. And we're trying to make that experience as best as we can. But I think having an actual physical space where the artwork can be and where you can experience it in person is very, very important. And I think to support the arts during this time, I mean, sometimes people can think of art as something that's extra or added on. It's not necessarily a necessary thing, but I think that it is something that is so, just important and
essential to the core of who we are as human beings as well. So and I think, like Kimberly said, art really needs to be experienced in person. It's not enough to see it online or to see it on video or something like that. It's there's a physical component of viewing and interacting with the art that I think is critically important, and that's really why we need to support small community spaces like this, like Greenlee Art Space, to enable artists and viewers to connect, to really connect around the art.
And we really put a lot of thought and consideration and time into the way that we hang the show. So we have been videoing that with sort of a it's not time lapse, right? It's
it's like a time lapse.
Yeah, so we've been doing it in time lapse.
Check our YouTube channel for the time lapses.
But you can get a sense of the process that we go through when you have this many pieces and the space that we have, figuring out what piece goes next to what. And you could have the same artwork and the show could not be good. And you can only really experience the way that we put this together in person is a great way to be able to experience that, because a lot of thought and a lot of effort goes into making sure that the pieces fit well with one another, that the colors, that some of the concepts that they play off of one another. The idea is that it makes it stronger by putting certain pieces together. I think the same way that when you find people that are supportive and encouraging to what you do, we can help each other. It's kind of this other extension of the way that community is.
It starts conversations,
right.
It lets things be more than they are in and of themselves by putting them together. So we covered the theme being rooted, being the kind of a concept of really looking at what some people have taken it very literally in terms of roots and trees and that kind of thing, but a lot of people have also looked at it very much as the things that root them into their community, their process, their identity, their home. So that's I think it's been wonderful to see all of the different pieces and read the stories and the backgrounds that the artists have provided behind those pieces. There's more.
Well, I think that aspect of this show, we're probably going to try to make it so in some way when you come in, you can also read what different individuals have said about the work. And I think that that'll be a way to actually even engage with the work in a deeper manner. So we're hoping to be able to do that. And I think one of the other things I did talk about it a little bit, but there's another kind of component to this show that I hadn't mentioned yet with the group. So we're partnering with Art for Change Foundation, which is a nonprofit group in Delhi, India. And so the director of that is someone that I worked with in 2020, ran a online basically artist residency that I participated in that was exploring this idea of mental health. And so they really are very similar sort of a group as we are that are just based in India. And so I was able to participate in that and create work for that. And I think there are about 50 artists from around the world. So we are partnering with them. And the really cool thing is he'll hopefully be able to come to the virtual opening and talk a little bit about their plans. And they want to create this beautiful space with artist studios and purchase land so that they can kind of create almost this artist retreat center just outside of Delhi. And the exciting thing that we're going to do is we're going to do Art for Change project in India. They're going to give that theme to some of their artists. And we're going to do several online sessions where I'm going to have some of the artists from this show that are going to be talking about their process and what they've done with artists in India. We're going to do a few different sessions like that. So it'll almost be another kind of artist residency for them in India. And we're going to meet with them a couple times, and then we're going to select from that and do a virtual show of the theme Rooted from Indian artists. So there'll be that connection also, and they're going to participate in interacting with that theme and creating work for that. So I think that that's another really exciting aspect, to be able to connect our artists with artists from India and to really help that group, because the artists over there are struggling a lot as well. Yeah, our plans for 21-22 for our space, we would love to find a permanent home that we could purchase some land for ourselves and build something, or purchase a larger space or something like that. I would love to have a permanent space, because Dave and I, over these last 11 years, have collected artwork from pretty much almost every show that we've had over the years, at least one or two pieces, because we are patrons of the arts, as well as people who put together gallery shows and other events. And so we're really excited. We actually are proud to announce that we were recipients of the ACTA grant, which is the Alliance for California Traditional Arts. And with that grant, we're putting together 5 panel discussions that are going to be looking at Native American work. And the idea is sort of looking at people who practice sort of the very traditional practices, as well as people who are pushing these arts in different ways. So we're going to have pottery, beadwork, and some other kinds of things. And so that's coming up starting in September. We're going to be having those, and we're going to have a show of that artwork in January of next year. We also have a young artist named Alexandra Forrest, who tragically lost her fiance while she was in art school, and she dropped out of art school, but really started working through her grief process with the art, and wanted a space to be able to create a whole show that would have artwork during probably the first 2-year period of her grieving process. And so we've started meeting together to talk about her work, and she has a couple of beautiful pieces. Do you want to grab one of them? She has some beautiful pieces in this show that really talk about how her fiance's heart stopped. And so this has a heart, and she talks about how her heart is continuing to beat, even though she's going through so much pain, and in some ways she doesn't feel rooted to anything but her body. And so there's gold leaf on it, and it's really a beautiful piece of work. And I think that, supporting her to do sort of a show in the whole gallery, and she has some different ideas about installations and things like that. It's something that would be hard to do in a lot of traditional spaces. There probably won't be a lot of things that are for sale because it really is about her grief process. So those are a few of the things that we have coming up. We have some other artists that we're talking with, a couple of artists from the USPS show who have beautiful work, Sui Park and Stephanie Metz, who do things with zip ties and felt, and they have beautiful, beautiful work. So we're looking at having a show with them next year. So there's always things that are sort of happening and coming up. And the neat thing is that, a lot of those are inspired by artists from the community who have an idea or, have gone through a certain process. And because of who we are and the type of work that we do, we're able to look at things that would be hard in some more traditional spaces where the goal is to sell work. We love to sell work. We love to get original artwork into people's homes and to support the artists in that way. But our main goal is really to, sort of create these shows more like a museum kind of experience where you're able to come in and it's the way that the artwork is affecting you and connecting you with the artists and other people and with these different concepts. So that's a little bit. There's always lots of different things coming up. So yes, we're excited.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yes, stay tuned.
So we are always looking to engage with artists that are in the community. That's definitely one of our goals. So great way to kind of start off with Greenlee Art Space is in participating in group shows like the one we've got right now. We've got our contact information on Greenlee's website, which is greenleeartspace.org. And so you can reach out to us. We can look at what type of art you do, what the concepts behind are. Usually we like to kind of get to know an artist a little more first by participation in a group show or something like that. And then we can kind of work it from there and kind of see how that develops. But yeah, we love to have new artists and new people that we can participate with and learn from and engage with, and art that we can bring to the community is always good.
Yeah, and we do actually have an application form. So if someone contacts us either through the website or they can email me, kimhocking@aol.com. So it's Hocking. It's a very old one. I've had it forever. Anyways, they can contact me through that, or they can call me at my phone number, 562-533-4020. And they can contact me if they're interested, and I can send them the form. Really, as Dave said, we like to have some kind of an experience or connection with the artist before we might enter into more of a bigger project. But we're always willing to look at different things, and we do have a process where we do run it by our board. Because we're a nonprofit, we have a board of people that works with us as well. So we kind of go through that process before doing anything like a larger show. But it's definitely, we always enjoy having new artists from the community, and a lot of our shows over the years have been inspired by artists coming in and saying, I have this idea that I'm thinking I'd like to do. And then a lot of times with our contacts, we can maybe even connect them up with other artists. We did one that was a sculptural show where there was a young artist who he created some smaller pieces. His name was Andres Alcaran, and he wanted to do some larger welding things. So we actually set him up in our back room to be able to weld and create larger pieces. And then we connected him with two other more well-known artists, Karina Massengill and Nate Jones, and we did a show that was all sculptural work. And that was inspired by a young artist who really hadn't had any kind of show experience before and wanted to put together life-size pieces. So we love to do that kind of thing. And I think we're changing people's ideas over the years of what it means to have a space like this and to support a space like Greenlee. So I think that, part of our mission and part of what we want to do is help people to understand how essential it is to have an actual physical space. Yes, we could do it cheaper and whatever, just doing everything online, but the actual space brings people together. It gives you that physical experience of the art, and you can connect and talk with the artists because many of them come to the opening. So we do a lot of things to make it so that it is a community building experience. And so, that part is a really essential thing as well.
I think obviously coming and participating in shows is the first great way to do that. Get engaged with the gallery. You can join our mailing list. We've got a sign up link on our website. So go to greenleeartspace.org. We have a link so you can join our mailing list, and you can receive updates about shows and about events that we've got. And the other big way, of course, is providing financial support. This is a gallery that's run completely by volunteer staff and through donations. So any sort of support that you can give to help us continue in this space and continue this mission of bringing community art to the local area, I think is great. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We've been a 501c3 for 11 years.
Time. Yeah.
So obviously any donations that you give are also tax deductible. But yeah, really get engaged, find out what shows we have. We really love to have participation and people coming in and really experiencing the art in person, I think is very important. And that's kind of where I would try to encourage everyone to start up. And this show that we're having now, this 11-year anniversary, is a great opportunity to do that. You get to see a wide range of artwork from a lot of local members of the community, as well as some coming in, like Kimberly said, from New York and from Oregon, among other places.
Mm-hmm. Alaska as well.
Yeah, so this is a great way to come in and participate and engage and see some new art, which is great.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, if you have some sort of a special skill that you think might help out. So, there's different things that we have volunteers doing and helping out with. I have a wonderful volunteer named Zachary, who does lots of work for us, and he helps to produce, our Facebook and Instagram posts. He helps to do grants as well. He helped us start out and do grant writing. So, a few years ago, we got our first really big grant, and that's helped us out so much. And he's a volunteer from the community who appreciates art and wanted to help out. So he's been helping us out now for 2 or 3 years, I believe. And so
shout out to Zachary.
Shout out to Zachary Miller. Yes, he's been great. So, if you have some kind of a special skill, if you're someone who's good with numbers or money and you want to volunteer, or if you want to just come and volunteer to help out in the space in some different way. We've had interns over the years who have come and worked with us to do things in the community. We've gone and worked with different organizations to help produce art projects and things like that. So if you're somebody in the community that wants us to come in and do some kind of an art thing, that's another way to get connected or involved. So there's lots of different ways to support us. But, as Dave said, one of the things that I've really looked at as I started, it was so hard because a lot of people didn't understand this concept of a nonprofit gallery. It's like, well, aren't you making money? Why is this a nonprofit? And one of the things I looked at that was actually really encouraging to me was to look back at letters that, Vincent van Gogh had sent to his brother Theo, and to see that we wouldn't have Vincent van Gogh's work if he didn't have his brother Theo, who was, helped him. He was his patron. He sent him money and funds so that, Vincent could focus on his calling as an artist. And I think, that's one of the things we've done, we call it like a Theo pin, this idea of, over the years, I don't think we've made any for this show, but over the years, we've made sort of these Theo pins to give to people who support us financially, because I think I want people to remember that, the artists of today, if we support them financially, then, or support places like Greenlee, that continues to support the arts, and you don't know who's you're gonna affect, but I think that it's really important. And so being a Theo is something that we feel like we also do for the community. We're giving of ourselves and our time and our money and all of that to be able to keep this space going. So, just to really realize that I believe that art is as important for the soul as bread and, food. And, over the years in history, art is something significant in most cultures. And so I think to say that this is something that it's worth it to support financially, I truly believe in it very much. So I'm happy that we've made it this long.
Yeah.
And that is in part, that is not just in part, that's due to really, we do have some really wonderful supporters and donors who donate on a monthly basis. And we have some people who have given us really big donations, and even small donations are really wonderful. It's just the heart, the heart in it to be able to support it. So
yeah, everything helps. Absolutely.
Every bit helps. Here at Greenlee Art Space, I'm Kimberly Hocking, the director, and this is my husband, David, who does a lot of the work. And so we're so excited about the show Rooted, which is our 11-year anniversary show. We would love for you to come and see it. It's going to be here starting August 7th. It will be open, and it'll run until October 9th. The hours are Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 11 to 2. Or you can call me. I live quite close, and I'm happy to come in at probably any other time. Pretty much, we can work out something. Come see the show. You'll be amazed and deeply moved, I believe.